Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I had to share something with you today that I just thought was probably the funniest thing. It literally is the most hilarious thing that not only have I seen all day, probably even though it's a short year, it just got started, but this probably surpasses 2015, and believe me, I saw a lot of ridiculous shit all through 2015. I just got this. I can't help but to laugh. I just got this thing from this group. I didn't receive it directly from the group. Somebody forwarded it to me, and the flyer it says Pride Inc. 44th Motorcade and Rally in Louisville, Kentucky. And basically, it looks like it is a Martin Luther King Day parade that is supposed to take place January 18th. Well, it says Dr. Martin Luther King Rally. And then I'm reading down here and I'm looking at what church it starts at. And it says Huglet Temple AMZ Zion in Louisville, Kentucky. Which is Louisville, Kentucky is a city. It's my hometown, but it's also the city where Judge Olu Stevens resides. He was the judge that spoke up against the all-white jury panel. They had 40 whites to one black. He spoke up against it, and basically he didn't even speak up against it. Actually, the defense attorney made three separate motions to have the jury removed because he said, look, my defendant's black. He's not being judged by a jury of his peers. These clearly were not his peers. Your peers are the people that you might see on a regular basis. These were not people that lived in his community. They was not reflective of the community. So on the third try, the judge said, you've got a point. Okay, I'll go ahead and remove this panel. We'll get another panel of impartial juries. And the defendant ended up with a jury of 8-4. I think there were just four people of color, four minorities, and he ended up being acquitted. Well, Commonwealth Attorney Tom Wine, Commonwealth Attorney is kind of like a district attorney, basically. He didn't like it. He got upset, and he filed motions to have Judge Stevens removed from all criminal cases. He said, look, we don't want this guy judging our Negroes. We don't want this in the courtroom, or our good white folks, apparently. And it has been pushed all the way to the Kentucky Supreme Court. And basically, they've been working very, very hard to paint Judge Stevens as an unqualified judge, largely because of this issue. If he hadn't done this, if he hadn't taken the stand, none of these things would happen. But it's getting real ugly. It's interesting. I mean, every now and then somebody will forward me another article. They've been writing lots of articles about him, trying to basically smear him. I mean, it's a smear effort. I think they said something about him owing money in taxes, and then trying to claim that this makes him unethical or makes him unqualified or makes him whatever, which they kind of do to a lot of black folks. That's why a lot of black people kind of see through that nonsense, because white folks that control media, they tend to, if they don't like what you're saying, first thing they'll do is come out and try to point out something that's wrong with you. But these are things that weren't wrong. They didn't bring these things up before this happened. Remember, Judge Stevens has been on the bench for quite a few years, and a lot of the debt was there many years ago, but they just decided this week to publish an article talking about the IRS debt and somehow painting him and his wife as incompetent. He and his wife are a lot of great things, but incompetent is not one of the words to describe this family. His wife is a physician. He's a judge. They're kind of like the Huxtables backward. Remember Cliff was the doctor and Claire was the lawyer, and so this family switched up. But anyway. So here's what I saw on this MLK Day Parade form, which is really a joke. I'm looking at the list of grand marshals, and the grand marshal, there's all these other people listed. I don't know who these people are, but one name stood out to me, and that is Commonwealth Attorney Tom Wine. Tom Wine. Now, Tom Wine, as I mentioned earlier, that is the prosecutor who's trying to get the black judge removed because he took a stand against all white juries. He did the right thing for black people in that community. So this man who was attacking a black judge, trying to have him fired from his job because he spoke up against the use of Jim Crow juries, and that's what they are, Jim Crow juries, where a bunch of white folks are sending black people to the gas chamber, to the gulags, to death penalties, whatever, and they don't want black people judging white folks. But they'll have white folks judging black people all day long and destroying our families, sending young people away forever. This man who wanted this black judge fired, who wants to smear him, who wants to destroy him for speaking up against this serious problem, this plague, this virus in our system, this man has been named as one of the grand marshals of a Martin Luther King Day parade. What kind of retarded shit is that? No disrespect to retarded people. I should have used a different word because I had to find a different word to describe the level of ridiculousness that's being shown with this decision. From what I understand, most Martin Luther King Day parades usually have at least a couple of black people on the committee that makes the decisions, and I'm wondering. I think if I'm in that city and I'm a citizen of that city, I ask myself, who the hell are these Negroes that picked this man to be a grand marshal at a Martin Luther King Day parade after he just literally has spent the last 6 months trying to destroy and undermine the most respected black judge in the entire state of Kentucky? Judge Olu Stevens is now internationally respected for the stand that he took on this issue. You have spent all your time doing nothing but trying to chop this man down at the knees, working behind the scenes, I'm sure, to undermine and smear him. I don't know where these tax stories are suddenly coming from, but they're coming from somewhere. There's somebody who's feeding that local media. You spend all of your time trying to destroy this man's career. And he's beloved by all the black people in the state who are saying, thank God somebody finally spoke up for us. Thank God somebody recognized what's being done to our families, this persecution that we're enduring in this state that is undeniably historically racist, the state that had some of the biggest plantations known to man, the state that has persecuted and destroyed black people for the last 300-400 years. Thank God this man is standing up for us. We love him. He should be the grand marshal for the parade. In fact, somebody called me and they said, well, guess who is the grand marshal for the Martin Luther King Day parade at such and such in Louisville? And I said, I hadn't looked at the form yet. Somebody actually told me. This was back before I actually saw it on paper. I didn't believe it. And they asked me to guess. I said, oh, Judge Stevens. They picked him. That's great. He's a perfect choice. Judge Stevens is one of the most respected black men in the history of that city. He's really doing things that are being seen internationally. This man is truly setting a new standard of excellence on the bench. And then she said, no, actually, it's Tom Wine. And when I heard that, I literally couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I really thought, I said, no, that's not true. Come on now. That's like a rumor. Ain't nobody doing that. That would be ridiculous. That would be as dumb as when the Los Angeles NAACP, when the president got paid off to give a Lifetime Achievement Award to Donald Sterling, the man who uses the word nigga more than he uses the words and or but or this or is. That would be as dumb as those ridiculous black pastors who stood next to that student at the University of Oklahoma after he was caught. Remember the frat boy who was on the bus with his friends singing a song about hanging niggas from trees? Remember that? Those are the words that they use, hanging niggas from trees. In this song that had been sang by this fraternity for many, many decades, these black pastors, somehow, some paid-off Negroes were standing next to him, hugging him, kissing him on the cheek. We love you. We forgive you. Just this coonery. What's another one? The pastors who met with Donald Trump, coming out talking about how much they love Donald Trump. Don't get me wrong. Now, I did actually defend those pastors a little bit in the sense that I think we should hear all arguments from all sides of the table. But at the same time, basically one of the things that people know, here's what people know, and this is what I think. I think this is a political move. I really do. Tom Wine, from what I understand, is connected to the Democratic Party in the city. The Democratic Party is typically very paternalistic when it comes to black people. They're like, look, just sit down and shut up and give us your votes and keep us in power and we'll be good. We'll pick a couple token Negroes to have some power positions so that you guys will be happy. But for the most part, you don't have any real agency on this. We're driving the bus. We just want y'all Negroes in the back seat. So when the Negroes get out of line and say, no, actually, we'd like to drive the bus, well, one of the things that they do is they will go and they will find certain black people to say, hey, we need our black card back. We need our black credibility. Can you co-sign for us? Can we come to your church and have a chicken dinner and do the nay-nay so that black people will love us again? And there's always somebody, some Negro who needs the money. Lord it be, I need money to pay for my church because the congregation did they pay. So you got the little church running Negro, whatever, who will take the money and bring the white man in and vouch for the white man so that he can get the votes from black people, and the system continues. So my belief here is that that Tom Wine has taken a black eye from the black community, because you can't do this. You cannot. This is a serious issue. All white juries are destroying black families all around the country, all around the world. This may be something that you're accustomed to because white supremacy and all that stuff is kind of just, white privilege is just kind of in your DNA. You're just kind of used to being able to judge Negroes and send us off to prison and not even have a black person on the jury. That's comfortable for you. It helps your conviction rate, I'm sure. And I'm sure you're just used to this. But there are black people who are smart enough to know that this is not acceptable. This is not fair. This is not a jury of our peers. So we don't care how many hundreds of years this justice system has been persecuting black people and sending us to prison for nothing. It needs to stop now. There are black people who are saying this needs to stop today. So when those people speak up, when you have someone in the system, see, you didn't want Judge Stevens in your system. If you'd known that he was going to do something like this, you never would have let him in your system. So think about this. You are okay with black people having power as long as they don't use it. That's why most of the time, when there is a black person in a state like Kentucky with power, next to the governor, next to the mayor, whatever, it's usually because they know they've got this Negro on the white supremacy page. They know that they've got a black person that will take whatever awards, cookies, trinkets, pieces of fried chicken that they offer him to protect the power of the white power structure, to protect the establishment, right? So that they don't have to worry about black people getting out of line. It's a plantation. That's it. It's a plantation. So, effectively, that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing Tom Wine, calling in favors, getting on the phone with black folks. Oh, hey, so and so. Oh, you want that federal appointment, or you want this position at the mayor's office, or you want some extra money, or you need some extra blah blah blah. And they're coming along. And that's the thing. When you have millions of black people that are affected by a certain situation, you don't have to sort of endure the expense of taking care of all those millions of people. You do what a lot of corrupt African dictators do, or third world dictators do. You just make sure the top people get paid off. That's why you have countries like Nigeria and some other parts of Africa, which unfortunately have some of the most vast natural resources in the world, some of the greatest amounts of wealth in the world. But the people live in dire poverty because they take care of the people at the top, who then take money to buy enough military and guns to control the people at the bottom. So effectively here in Louisville, or in my hometown, and this happens all over. This isn't just in Louisville. This isn't just with Judge Stevens. This is just how the game's played everywhere. You basically have the masses of black people who are being persecuted by these all-white juries, which are a lot like Nazi soldiers sending Jews off to concentration camps. If you're Jewish and you want to understand how we feel, think about how your grandparents felt when they were being sent off to concentration camps by juries full of people that were loyal to the Nazi regime. That's exactly how black people feel. The only difference is that the Nazi regime only lasted for a few years. White supremacy has lasted for 400 years. So we've pretty much dealt with what the Jews have dealt with. The Jews dealt with for 6 or 7 years. We've dealt with this since the early 1600s. Okay, so effectively, if you're kind of dealing with this persecution, we kind of have a choice. What do we do? Well, I'll tell you what we should do. Number one, we have to protect our children against all enemies. So if you decide that an issue is a simple matter of right and wrong, if you decide that all white juries are bad, then that's where you have to be. That's where your mind has to go. And anybody who fights against that point of view effectively has to become your adversary. So that means even if they have a black face, you can't allow that to sway you. Whenever you see a Negro out here telling lies, whenever you see a Negro saying things that don't make any sense, whenever you see a Negro saying things that just don't even connect to common sense, or you see them dodging around an important issue, or you see them supporting an issue that makes no sense to you, follow the money. All you gotta do is follow the money. Figure out which white man is paying them. What is their position? What is their ambition? What are they trying to do? That's how black people get bought off. We have ambition, we have needs as well. So you have a black man who's got a church, The church isn't bringing in enough money to pay the rent. Well, white folks have all the wealth in America, so what do? They come in, they make a donation. Next thing you know, this Negro's telling his congregation to vote for the corrupt politician who's going to destroy their lives, right? You look at the NAACP, for example, out in L.A., Donald Sterling. Donald Sterling was a billionaire. This guy, the president of the NAACP at the time, from what I understand, had gotten in trouble in the past for accepting bribes. So he's got this power, this position where he can influence black folks and white folks alike. So a lot of people use the NAACP as a get out of jail free card. Donald Sterling rolls up, you give him instant respect because he's a billionaire, and that's the biggest problem we have as black folks, is that we think we love people automatically because they have money. We love even black celebrities. We love them because they have money, and we don't value anything else. We don't look at the content of their character. We look at the amount of money in their bank account. If you got money, then that makes you good. You all right with us. That's a very dangerous way of thinking. I'm a finance professor. I know how money works, so I know what money does to your mind. In fact, the professor Andrew Lowe at MIT did a study that showed that money affects the same region of the brain as cocaine. So literally, money makes you high. Not having money makes you depressed. Cocaine makes you high. When you don't have it, you're depressed. Same effect. So effectively, Donald Sterling rolls up. He's got the Bentley, and he's all important. He's got all this money. It's hard to say no to somebody like that, especially if you need the money. You have ambitions and aspirations. You want white validation. So what does he do? He plays to that. You know what? Hey, I could throw you $100,000 if you will go ahead and give me what I need. You give me this NAACP award. Now, how does the president of the NAACP win? Well, they've got the money. They've got maybe the prestige of being friends with Donald Sterling. Maybe they get a position out of it, right? Donald Sterling wins because by paying off the NAACP, you're a lot like the drug dealer who's paid off the police department. The police are not going to investigate your drug operation because you're taking good care of them. Who loses? The citizens lose, right? If you're working for Donald Sterling, and you have a complaint where you've been treated unfairly on the job, you can't go to the NAACP anymore because they work for Donald Sterling. So effectively, the same thing holds true in this particular example. We have to be very, very careful about looking at and critically analyzing the people we consider to be black leaders. Whoever these people are, and I really think that these people should be smoked out. I think people should look and find out who's on the committee, who made this decision, whatever. Smoke those people out. Ask them a question. Why? What are you doing? Why are you supporting this person? Because a lot of people like to support things and that will benefit them personally, but they don't want direct accountability. They like to kind of hide behind the scenes, and they don't want to stand out front and defend their decision. If you can't stand out front and defend your position, then basically the truth has become the enemy. And when the truth becomes the enemy, that usually means that you have some latent, some hidden incentive that you have not revealed to the rest of the world. And Lord knows you don't want people to know how this guy just hooked you up to make you into an ass, to make you into his personal hooker. And that's exactly what happens on a plantation. So that's my analysis of the situation. I'm about to go to bed because I just saw this, and I swear this is going to give me nightmares tonight. I can't look at something like this and go to sleep peacefully. What the hell's wrong with these people? This is crazy. All right, well, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Please take care. God bless. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.